Hey everybody, I'm PJ DeCaesar, and this is my speedrun of Brainlord in 101.58 by SDA timing. This is the any percent with Roteo skip category. I'm not sure what the other category will eventually be called, probably something along the lines of any percent all dungeons or all bosses or something, but this is the run that uses a skip found by Roteo to skip the first two dungeons and go straight to the third dungeon in this game, and it saves a tremendous amount of time, something like 40 minutes or 50 minutes. So, Brainlord's a pretty unique action RPG in that it's really not based on combat. There is combat in this game, there are enemies, but generally the challenge in this game is figuring out where to go in a dungeon. You'll go somewhere and get a key, and then you have to figure out where in the dungeon the key goes, and many of the rooms are locked behind puzzles. And most of the puzzles are either like switch puzzles, you have to figure out in which order to hit the switches, or they're like pushing, sliding block puzzles with like interactable rocks or steel balls or ice blocks. So in Brainlord, if you find yourself clipped into one of those interactable objects, a rock, a steel ball, an ice block, or, as we'll see soon, an NPC, you're able to walk freely inside it. You're also able to exit, but you're not able to freely clip back inside. But if there is another object adjacent to the one that you're clipped into, you can walk freely inside that one too. So what Roteo found is that you can get yourself clipped into an NPC just outside here, and then manipulate him to walk south to this guard that's blocking our path to Toronto, which is where the third dungeon is. And then you can just walk through the guard, clip into the guard, and leave. And the reason this is so reliable is because the random number generator in this game increments pretty predictably in most cases. So in this town, it's going to change exactly the same way, just based on the movement of the NPCs. So as long as we don't take too long exiting this bar, we're going to know exactly how these NPCs are going to move. So this is the NPC of interest. He's always going to walk down one tile and then attempt to walk right. So we're blocking him from walking right, so he's not going to move at all from there. And then he's going to walk down again and stop at the corner here. And at this point, we'll jump onto the fence. It slides us off. If you don't clear the fence completely, you slide. And it forces us into this NPC. Now, we're standing in a specific spot here. The NPC, the random number generator, is feeding this NPC up and down movements. And we're blocking all of his up movements by standing in a certain spot inside the sprite. So we're only allowing down. And once he gets adjacent to the guard, we can walk right into him and leave. And away we go. Now, this game doesn't have levels for our character. All of our characters' stat progression is via items. So, standard equipment, weapon, helmet, armor, shield will give power, guard, and guards. And shield doesn't give guard, but it allows you to block. We don't have... we have very insufficient equipment for this point in the game. So contact with any enemy in that map, the southern highway there, or any enemy in the ice castle, which is the first dungeon we're going to access here, is going to instantly kill us. Death in this game isn't a real big deal. You lose half of your gold, and then you get sent back to your last save. Dying in the southern highway is a big deal because we would spawn back in the first town, and the random number generator would be in a different spot, so we wouldn't be able to do the clip again. That would be a reset, but I mean, that's not a big deal. We can just... It's 2 minutes into the game, we can just reset and take it from there. So, fortunately, the game doesn't really care that we skipped the first two dungeons. In fact, the reward from the second dungeon is an item called the Silver Plaque. And you're supposed to deliver it to a guy here who, I think his name is Rubens. And he's going to translate it and get some lore for us and tell us where to go. But Rubens will actually translate the Silver Plaque even if we don't bring it to him. Like, the game really does not care that we're in this town early, and it's very fortunate that it doesn't, because we're able to just cleanly skip those two dungeons. So away we go. The two plot triggers here are talking to Ryan. He's the dude in the purple. He's going to be engaged to Vanessa, and she was captured by this bad guy, Ramus, who's the lord of the ice castle. And then we go to the arena and figure out that Barnas, this old guy here, wanted to have a meeting. And here we are. So I normally don't I don't upload runs, especially commentated runs, to YouTube unless I'm like done running the game. Just because if I did this for every PB, it would be I mean, you would hear in my voice that I would just lose interest in talking about these runs. But I wanted to do it in this case to serve as a, like a quote beginner run. I guess more like an introductory route to speedrunning Brainlord. Because this route collects a whole bunch of extra resources that are not strictly necessary to beat the game. And instead of just jumping in and running it with like the absolute minimum resources and never finishing a run and then burning out, I thought I would collect more stuff than necessary, finish a run that's relatively clean, and upload it for future reference for other runners who might be looking into getting into running this game. So I'm going to be talking through a lot of the other optional things that I collect and why I collected them here, and the implications of collecting them. I suppose I should open up my notes so I have like some of these timing things. Alright, anyways, Ferris, our friend there, made a portal to the desert. The desert will bring us to the ice castle. And away we go. So, one of the main things in Brainlord are these orange rust-colored statues. These are save points, but they're not just save points; they're also waypoints. So you can teleport to them, and if you die, you'll respawn back at the last save point that you used. Okay, so first we get the Western Sky Key. I want a damage boost off of the spike balls. I like to leave 3 health. Contact with any enemy in this dungeon is going to kill me, so it really doesn't matter for those purposes, but trap tiles only do 1 damage, and we're going to be walking through a lot of trap tile rooms. This room is the major deviation for this route. There's a chest in the left of this room that you could see I ran past. That's the Ocean Key. You're able to jump and collect the Ocean Key from that room instead of doing any of these rooms, and it saves some amount of time that I don't remember, but it's a pretty serious amount of time. But we lose a lot of resources by doing that. So we collected a heart from that chest. Heart is the item that permanently increases your health. And then in this room, we're going to collect a warp gate, a crystal piece, and a drop of protect, I believe. Yes. All right. So crystal piece is an item that doesn't have any function. It's just valuable. So you sell it in a shop for a lot of gold. Crystal piece in particular is worth 10,000. So we get that just to sell and buy more warp gates. Damage boost through the orange steel ball there, because we have the health for it, and we're going to die here soon anyways. When you die, you respawn at the last save point, or rather the last save point that you used, not like the most recent one you ran past or the closest one. These ice blocks are random. How long they take to move is random. So yeah, you die, you have this very lengthy animation, you go back to the last save point that you used, you lose half of your gold, and you fully heal. In the heal, well, quick traveling is extremely important, and the heal is also important. So the other way to travel to save points or travel quickly around dungeons is use warp gates. And that's a consumable item that will teleport you to whatever save point you choose. But it has to be a save point that you've activated. Okay, this is the scariest room in the run, I believe. There's a weird corner here. You can kind of clip onto it. I don't remember what happens in this run. Looks like they're gonna let me go up here. And then there's gonna be one Auk that we're gonna run past, and then a very scary drummer pig. So we have to... The timing is really tight. I want to hit him twice, and during the iframes of the second hit, I want to jump to the right. And if I time it and space it properly, I should always get past him, but it's a really, really scary window. Okay, so we collected the black gold helmet. That increases our guard from 3 total to 10 total, so it's a really drastic increase. And another function of this game is the return function, which they use to save you in case you screw up a puzzle really badly and get locked out. The return puts you at the entrance to the room you just entered, and it keeps all of your progress. It keeps your health, it keeps any items that you found, any of that. So this is another detour, not strictly necessary. We collect the heart here. Let me see, this detour is 27 seconds. The black gold helm is a 13-second detour. That is also not necessary, but I strongly recommend getting it just because it allows us to survive a hit from some of the enemies. The damage formula in this game is a division function. So most of the enemies here will have like 40 power or something. Again, I'll upload a bestiary to my website at some point, and you can check out the numbers yourself. But when you only have 3 health, they're gonna slam you. It's like 13 damage or something. But when you have 10, I'm sorry, when you only have 3 guard, I mean. But when you have 10 guards, they'll only do, these guys do 3, I think, and the Auks do 4 or 5. So the black gold helm allows us to survive hits from enemies, which is really convenient. There was another detour in that northern room to collect the reviving mirror. That costs 14 seconds. It again is not strictly necessary, but it helps for the boss of this area, for reasons I'll explain later. So this is our first and only shopping trip of this route. We sell both crystal pieces. Again, one of those was optional. So if you're doing the route, the more difficult route, veteran route, whatever you want to call it, the one that gets early ocean key and skips a crystal piece, you'll be 10,000 gold short here, and you'll have to do the other half of the shopping trip later. What we're getting here is 8 warp gates. This route is, well, 10 warp gates are optimal. So we buy 8 and we collect 2. Again, if you're doing early ocean key, you would only collect 1 because one of those warp gates is in the side room there. And one of the other ones is acquired later in this dungeon, I think. And then with all of my remaining money, I'm buying mushrooms. Mushrooms heal for 10 health, I think. So I buy 8 of those, and then I buy 2 antidotes. Poison in this game lasts forever, and it halves your power and halves your guard. And scorpions have a 100% poison rate. So essentially what that means is that if I get hit by a scorpion, the run's over. So the antidotes, again, aren't strictly necessary, but it gives me some flexibility. It's possible to go around that guy without getting hit, but for some reason I've been getting hit. The switch from emulator to console screwed up my movement there. Okay, so this is a deviation. This is not normally where I use the heart. But these enemies will either do 4 damage or 5 damage to me, and it looks like they would have done 5 damage. So if I didn't use a heart, they would have killed me. So I opted to use one early there. I would ordinarily use the heart after the damage boost, because heart, in addition to expanding your max health, gives you a full heal. So we're doing another detour here. This item isn't necessary. The key to the left was, I think that was the waterfall key. The source of power is not necessary, but it helps. Source of power is a permanent power boost. Permanent stat increase. So we're going to use our other heart here. Just again as a full heal. I'm not exactly sure what the advanced route would do here. Because I don't think I would have any heart. So I'd probably refill at the fountain and then just hope that I don't get hit by the yellow drummer pig. Okay, this is a boulder pushing puzzle. This is the fastest solution that we found. There are double pushes that you can use. So if you take an action on the same frame that the object gets pushed, either by jumping or by swinging your sword, it'll take a second movement. This hit here is the one that you would have to avoid if you opted to do the Ocean Key skip. Yeah, so you can use double pushes to do things like push rocks around corners, instead of just like pushing it from behind. You can push it up and left on the same push. So you can like push rocks around corners, you can slide boulders around, or slide steel balls around corners. You can do some really fancy stuff. This route doesn't have any required double pushes, but it does have the puzzles set up in such a way that you can take advantage of them. This solution is just pressing the switches from right to left. In this room, you have to hit the switches in a specific order, and the plaques will give you the order, but you don't have to read the plaques. I don't remember if I got a good clear... Nope, I did not. There's a really, really elegant solution to this that doesn't get hit at all, and it's super, super tight, and it's also very really, it's very easy to screw up, because if you're in the middle of a jump and one of those spike balls hits you, it forces you onto the ground. So if you're trying to jump over a switch and then you get hit, it forces you onto the switch, and then you have to reset the room. This room is lovely. It gives us a whole bunch of stuff. So Battle Shields is really great. That's the only shield we're going to get for the entire run. And Plate Armor gives us 10 more defense. So now we have a defense of 19, which is fantastic. We're not going to be taking much damage from anything now. And by much damage, I mean we'll be taking like 3 still, but it's better than instantly dying. Or taking 13. Okay, this is an RTA, a real-time attack, as opposed to a single segment run, so resets are allowed. And the benefit of a reset is that it resets the random number generator to a known value. So what I'm doing with this reset is manipulating the maximum possible value out of the 2 stat items that I collected. So the drop of Protect and Source of Power can increase your stats by anywhere from 1 to 3. We're manipulating a 3 on both of them. So in this particular room, we do that by using one of them immediately. That advances the random number generator, and then returning increments the random number generator again, because Ferris's movements are random. So we can get max rolls in that room by just resetting the game, using one item, returning, and using another one straight away. And one other side effect of that is that it forces this scorpion to always walk down and then attack. And we got super bad luck. If you're like exactly 1 full tile from a scorpion and you jump, you'll always jump over the scorpion's tail. But I don't know if my positioning was just off there or what, but the scorpion hit me. And as I said before, scorpions have a 100% poison rate, and poison never goes away. And that depleted my health enough that I had to use a mushroom. So we lost a bunch of time from having to use an antidote and a mushroom. The menu in this game is super slow, and the mushroom is a resource that I wanted to save for later. And there's a healing fountain right here that is in the route. So if you don't get hit by that scorpion, you're free to damage boost through the Auk and through the Teal Knights in that room, and you'll be fine. Okay, at this point we have like 4 keys in our inventory. The Ice Castle is by far the most confusing dungeon in this game. There's a sequence of 3 doors in a row that require first gate key, second gate key, and third gate key. We collected one of those up there, I think the second gate key. And then 2 other keys were in that room. One was the Red Wing key, which is used to open up this room that gives us the Fire Sword. And Fire Sword is not skippable. Fire Sword is required to break 2 ice blocks. One of which is back here in Castle 1, in the most dangerous room in the game. So we use a warp gate to go back here, and away we go. I want to keep 5 health here. At least 5 health, because we're going to be going through some scary rooms And I want to make sure that I don't die early because we're actually setting up for death abuse later to go back to Castle 3. If we die early, then we're going to have to use an extra warp gate, and the route doesn't... it doesn't have leniency for that. If we use an extra warp gate, we have to make an extra shopping trip, and that takes too much time. So, I'm just going to play it safe instead. So, the fire sword breaks that ice block, and that allows us to get back here. Ice blocks are interactable objects, so if we... I mean, we could, in theory, use the same setup that we do, well, the same type of setup that we do for the Roteo skip. If we found a way to clip into the ice block or clip into another object, even though there aren't any up there, you could just walk through the ice block and go through the door. The door isn't locked at all, so it would just be a matter of finding a way to clip into that. And then we have to break this as well because we need the floodgate key. Floodgate key is used in Castle 2, so away we go. So in that other room that had 3 chests, the Red Wing key, the gate key, and ice key. Ice key is another one that's not strictly necessary, but it gives us a stronger weapon. It gives us the Great Maul. So that is that's a thing that we collect, and I think the Great Maul will always be in the route. It's just too valuable an item, and not a real big detour. Okay, Floodgate Key opens up the room to the worst puzzle in the game. The solution to this puzzle, there are 3 switches, and then the plaque on the wall says the solution lies on the control pad, or something like that. And the solution is to press the X button next to that gate, and the X button isn't used for anything in this game, except for that puzzle. So it's super, super rude. The thing I'm hitting these guys with is the stop magic. That's what we got from the cutscene with Ryan and Vanessa. The meat that we got from that chest is a full heal, which is going to come in handy. You can always use more healing items. And then the 3rd gate key. So now we have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd gate keys. So we're clear to go through Castle 3 onto Castle 4. But first we make a minor detour up here. And use the ice key to collect the heavy maul. I was trying to avoid damage there, but it didn't work, and it wasn't even really necessary. But I wanted to do it because I used a mushroom earlier, so I wanted to try and save a healing item. All right, heavy maul. We're not going to equip it quite yet because we're still not going to be killing enemies. Again, since you don't level up in this game, there's not really any reward for killing enemies. You get some golds, but we're not gonna shop anymore. Or rather, we're gonna shop once more, but we have all the money that that we need for that. So, I guess something else that I should mention is that jumping is faster, with the exception of like ice floors. Walking is the same speed. Jumping and walking are the same speed on ice floors. But if you see me jumping everywhere else, it's because it is faster. It's also more fun, and it's useful for like spacing out things, particularly in the final dungeon where there are dark rooms. Jumping is really handy for keeping track of my position, but everywhere else I'm using jumps because it's faster. So I'm using shield or sword here just to push enemies around. Again, like hit them, get them in iframes, so if they do choose to attack, the attack will be ineffective against me. The shield does do damage. The shield does damage equal to your power stat, just the power stat, whereas attacking has the power of your power stat plus the weapon's power. Oh, there's a double push. Nice, I did get one. Cool, so that saves 2 actions. And then this... That's a really good solution. If your movement is fast enough, well, so the solution there is to put something on all 4 of those switches. But they don't have to be permanently resting on the switches, just that all 4 switches have to be depressed at the same time for that door to open. So I'm pushing that steel ball down and then moving very quickly to get through the door in the short window where the steel ball is rolling over the switch. It's quite a nice solution and saves a lot of time over the alternative. But yeah, the shield isn't really used for damage, it's just used to get some iframes. I'm not using that save point because it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be warping back here. This is the end of the dungeon, so there's no benefit. And if I die, I'm not going to be continuing the run anyways. So the shield is used, yeah, just to get enemies in iframes because it's a really quick action. So we're going to be using the shield to just kind of push enemies around. We're going to use the stop magic here, just to make sure that guy doesn't bother us. And there's no way to get around his friend here, so we have to kill him. There are a bunch of these enemies that we just can't reasonably get around and we have to kill. Like this drummer pig here. These currents are pushing us away, so we're not going to be able to outrun them. We're not going to be able to trap them in iframes and go. We have to kill them. And this is kind of a scary part. We want to damage boost off these spikes, but not off that guy, so that worked well. Okay, yeah, it looks like we're good here. So the boss here will do either 3 or 4 damage. I say either 3 or 4. He does 3.6 damage to us, and the game keeps track of that remainder. So generally, if he hits us for 3, the next hit is going to be 4, and then in rare situations, he'll hit us for 4 twice in a row. And we have 8 health, so that's why we have the reviving mirror. With 6 health right here, we're going to heal after the first hit, and then we're going to let him hit us twice between every other heal. So in the rare case where he does do 4 damage twice in a row, the reviving mirror will bring us back. Okay, so the ghosts, they have 200 health. We do, oh god, what do we do? We have 5 power, and the heavy maul is 15 power, so we do exactly 20. Each ghost takes 10 hits. In order to hit the ghosts, you have to hit them with the stop magic first. And then they become corporeal, and we can do damage to them. This fight is going extremely well. Normally, so we're in an ice floor with pits, so our mobility isn't great. The strat that I have to use is just stand roughly in the middle and catch them as they're circling around me, and hope that they take circle pattern instead of figure 8 pattern, because they can opt to just like fly off the side of the screen and never come back. But that fight was really good. We only got hit twice? It's extraordinarily rare. So as far as resources, I budget 1 reviving mirror and 3 mushrooms for that dungeon. I expect to use 1 mushroom getting to that boss. Either from that last gauntlet, I expect to get hit by one of the mace wolves, or to get hit by a scorpion, or some of the drummer pigs. And then I expect to use reviving mirror and 2 mushrooms on the boss himself. But instead we used 1 mushroom earlier, 1 antidote earlier, and then 1 mushroom on the boss. So we still have reviving mirror and we still have a mushroom. I actually don't want the reviving mirror because it's gonna screw up my inventory, and I have to unequip it for the next dungeon anyways, because there's significant death abuse. But it's okay. I'm not gonna be upset about having a good fight. So what we learned from this is that Ferris was the Ice Queen, and she set up that whole thing as a test for us, I think. Maybe that's the test to see if we're worthy of meeting the dragon. I really don't remember. I don't really care. But to go see the dragon is in Droog Mountain, and the path to Droog is closed because there's a pig statue that had the gem stolen from its mouth. And if we return the sapphire to its mouth, then it'll open up for us. Ferris gives us the Ice Medallion. Ice Medallion is awesome. It's more magic. So magic in this game is infinite use. There's no cost to it. Doesn't use gold, doesn't use MP. The only downside is that you have to charge it by holding the attack button. You can't charge while you're jumping or while you're attacking or anything. You have to be walking. or standing still to charge it. But magic does fixed damage. It just has attack power. It doesn't scale with anything, and it does a set amount of damage to enemies. Enemies don't have defense in this game, they just have HP. So, ice magic is actually the second strongest magic in the game. It's very, very powerful, and it's much more powerful than our weapons are at this point. So, ice is a really good offensive option if we have to kill stuff. And it also freezes lava, so you can walk over it, and that's also important for Droog. We're just going to be damage boosting over most of the lava, but if you wanted to play it safer, you could use that. So this is Rubens. He's been translating the plaque that we never gave him, and he's going to tell us to go back to Ark and talk to our old buddy, and then our old buddy is going to give us a sapphire, and away we go. Instead, I'm going to talk about that trip to the weapon shop. So we used the heavy maul and the ghost just because, well, it's kind of a ranged weapon. There were like 4 enemies we had to kill on the gauntlet to get to the ghost, and our next strongest weapon is the fire sword, which would have required 20 hits on each ghost, which would require using stop magic more and getting luckier. So the heavy maul was very worthwhile for the ice castle, but the range is bad, the attack rate is bad, and you can only, it's a melee weapon. You can only have one on screen at a time. So we sold the heavy maul for the chuckler, which is the strongest boomerang class weapon in the game. Even though it's 6 attack power lower than the heavy maul, it's significantly easier to hit enemies with it, and the fact that we can have 2 on screen at a time is really important for zoning and spacing, especially for the final boss. Okay, so after the ice castle, you're not allowed to go back to the ice castle, so our teleport list is just the first 2 towns. But after the ice castle and the cutscene where we got the ice medallion, we saved at this inn because Toronto isn't a default waypoint. So we had to save to activate it as a waypoint so that we could teleport back here after getting the sapphire. Because the guard is still in Arks, the first town. The guard's queue to let us pass is beating the second dungeon, which we still haven't done. So the guard doesn't care that we've already been past him and we've done the 3rd dungeon. He's only checking to see if we've done the 2nd one. So yeah, we need to activate that waypoint so we can just teleport past him. This mountain heading to the volcano is really awful. These bats, or baby dragons, are super aggressive and very dangerous. They take 3 chuckler hits, or 1 chuckler hit and ice magic. Ice magic is tremendously powerful, a very important asset. I should have killed the bottom baby dragon, because he's going to come up here and be really rude to me. There's a skip here. You normally have to go like way up and around the mountain and then drop down, but you can make this this jump right across and slide down onto the corner. Because I didn't kill that other baby dragon, I got hit by him twice and then I died upon landing. And I was okay with that because I had the reviving mirror, but it cost a bunch of time. Alright, so we do our other reset here to manipulate the random number generator, because Droog is an asshole, and it has these rooms, the Silent Stone rooms, and they're dark rooms with randomly placed obstacles, and you can get completely blocked from the mandatory destination for several minutes if you get unlucky. So I just take the 30-second hit on the reset and manipulate my way through all 3 of these rooms. So the random number generator here advances whenever an enemy makes a decision, so whenever it decides what direction to walk and for how long it's going to walk in that direction. And additionally, every half tile that I walk, the random number generator changes. And because the enemy movement is based on camera, like how long they're on camera, will impact how many decisions they make, my move speed through the room is also going to change the RNG. Unfortunately, I'm noticing now that it looks like that's where it failed. I was supposed to do 2 jumps north at the end there. Like the very last 2 turns in this that screen, they were supposed to be jumps instead of walking. And since I didn't, it screwed up the random number generator for this upcoming screen. So I didn't get the full RNG manip. We only manipped the first 2 rooms, and then this one we just kind of had to wing it. So that rock up there against the north wall is ordinarily not there. I shouldn't say ordinarily not there, because it is extremely ordinarily there. But with the RNG manip, it is not. So right now I'm just kind of puttering around. There, that got rid of it. Getting it off screen and walking around to change the RNG, and then walking back. Because these rocks will shift position once they're off camera, and once the RNG changes. So it's a tremendous pain to get through casually. They were really kind to me here. But if you do it right, you're not at their mercy. You can just go. The random number generator is a little bit too volatile in this map to continue with manipulation. All of the scorpion movements are random. All of these eruptions and the lava are random. In addition to all of the movement and enemy behavior in the silent stone rooms. This guy is in my way. Okay. These scorpions are the same scorpions that were in the ice castle. They still poison me 100% of the time. So I want to make sure that they don't hit me. They also still do a huge amount of damage. I think they would do 4 damage. And I have a bunch more damage boosts that I need to do coming up. So it's worth it to just hit the scorpions and waste some time to kill them, as opposed to getting hit and having to use 2 items. These ones we don't really care about. We just want to grab the chest and leave. We go back to Droog 1. There's one more silent stone room to get through. Again, it would be really great if we could carry the RNG manipulation all the way through here, but it's just too volatile. And this screen, we only have to move north like 10 tiles or something, so it's pretty common for the game to give you a layout that allows you through. Yeah, that was second try. I'd say second try is pretty common. The worst I've gotten is like 8 or 9 tries, but it's really not uncommon to get it within 2. Alright, so there are 2 more keys we have to collect in Droog. We're setting up for a death abuse here. We're gonna warp back to that save point. So it's okay that our health is only at 2, but this is a really scary room, and I opted to not go for the early cycle here. You can actually catch these platforms. Yeah. You can catch those platforms on the first cycle. Oh, I forgot! Okay. So I was expecting, if you're on ice or you're on a moving platform, and let's say that my momentum on ice is carrying me to the right, or the platform's carrying me to the right, and I jump up, I'll get an up-right jump. My momentum will actually be preserved. So I was kind of banking on that. When you have to land on a 1-tile gap, you kind of have to know exactly what kind of momentum you're going to have on the jump. And I grossly overestimated how much momentum was going to carry on that platform. So I opted for the safer strat and screwed it up and had to redo the screen anyways. And this, I had to do an extra cycle in this room too. That pig bomb, when you hit him, explodes and has a gigantic explosion radius. So ordinarily, once he's on screen, you hit him and trigger the detonation, and you can land on like the very lowest part of that other platform and you can be safe. But since I didn't hit him immediately, he drifted down, and it made the entirety of that platform unsafe. So if I tried to jump across, he would have killed me, and I would have lost a million years. So that section did not go well. This section is also really tough. These mudslide river things obviously push you around. The optimal clears of these screens are really elegant. They're quite nice and they're a lot of fun to do, but I kind of phoned it in this attempt. You can again get an early cycle on the platforms if your movement is extremely clean. That platform in the center there, you can jump on without having to wait for it to come back down. And honestly, my movement was pretty good there, so I probably could have feasibly made that jump, but I decided not to risk it. Okay, so we have the Dead Dragon Key and the Sea Dragon Key. That's all we need. Now we just have, I think, 2 more rooms to go through, and then Droog is finished. So one of the scary things here, I didn't talk about the shield at all. Well, I did. I talked about the damage of the shield, but there's a dedicated black button. The Y button will hold out the shield. But if you have the shield equipped and you walk into or jump into an enemy, the game will auto-block. So your character will land and will put the shield out and is guaranteed to block that interaction. And it's pretty handy for some things, but for other things, it can actually put you in more danger. So sometimes with those fireballs, those eruptions, the game will try to auto-block them, but you can't block them to avoid damage. So what happens instead is that you're jumping forward, the game auto-blocks and it forces you into the lava. And instead of just taking like 1 damage from the fireball, you end up taking like 3 or 4 damage from the fireball and the lava ticks. And against the final boss too, I guess I may as well mention it now. One of the phases of the final boss is a centipede thing that shoots 2 homing balls whenever you hit it. And if you have the shield equipped, you actually can't jump over them most of the time, because the game will try and block them. So you can jump over them if you have no shield equipped. It's something that you can jump over. But if you have the shield, the game will prioritize blocking it, force you to the ground, and then force you to take damage. So the shield can be a liability in some situations. In early iterations of this, I actually routed in a shield unequip menu so that the eruptions wouldn't do additional damage, but I decided that it was rare enough that I could just deal with it. Okay, we met the dragon. The dragon's a buddy. We don't have to fight anything. We just talk to the dragon and he gives us an upgrade. He gives us a permanent +5 to our power and a permanent +10 to our guard. So that's pretty cool. I guess I should mention too, when you kill the ghost boss in Ice Castle, you're awarded 10,000 gold. And you also get like around 2,000 gold from the enemies that you kill in the gauntlet before him. And buying the Chuckler with trading in the heavy Maul costs 2,000 gold. So you're left with around 10,000, like normally 9,500 gold. So if you do have to use extra resources in the Ice Castle, or if things go poorly, you have to use an extra warp gate, you have to use 2 extra mushrooms or something, you would do that shopping trip right after returning from Ice Castle. So before you go buy the Chuckler, you would run to the item shop and buy whatever warp gates and mushrooms you needed. So I would recommend doing that. And the advanced route would take that shopping trip, just because it does need the warp gates. So that's when you would do it. Alright, so at this point, demons have invaded. All of the demons are these little pillbug guys. This area sucks. In a speedrun it's okay, because we know exactly where to go, but these are dark rooms. There is an item that will light up small portions of dark screens, and by light up I mean like it's borderline useless. But that item is, well, the item is the light jade. It's a fairy that circles you. It causes a lot of lag. You have to level it up to get a bigger radius, and it's in the second dungeon, which we skip. So we are forced to memorize our way through these screens. Where is this path? I thought I wasn't far down enough. I would have made that same mistake now. These screens suck. The pillbugs fortunately don't do much damage. They do like 1 or 2. I think they do 1.5. As always, there are scorpions, but fortunately, you don't have to walk past the scorpions on the optimal route. You only find the little pill bug dudes. So even if you get hit, it's not really a big deal. You can just cut out some hits in Platinum, and that's that. Nice. 1 Chuckler hit and 3 shield bonks kills these guys. Thinking about it, they might just die from a single ice cast, but again, you can't charge ice while you're walking, or while you're jumping, so... I don't know, I would have to look into that though. It might be a better option. Alright, so this is Platinum. It has awesome music. This is a really, really fun dungeon to speedrun. Casually, it's also really fun, except for a few rooms that are a nightmare. Oh really? I missed that jump, huh? Okay. So we're also going to be collecting some optional stuff. Droog is going to look basically identical in the expert or advanced route. We don't collect anything extra there. But Platinum does have a few extra things, and this is one of them right here. This is going to take us to the Platinum Helmet. Oh man, where's my timing stuff? It doesn't matter. Collecting the Platinum Helmet and the Royal Armor together costs like 1.5 minutes, I think. But my logic behind this is that if we collect the Platinum Helmet and the Royal Armor both, we are guaranteed to survive 2 hits from the final boss. He's going to do 4 damage on 1 hit and 5 on the next, and we are going to have 10 health. Are we going to have 10? Are we going to have 9 and he's guaranteed to do 8? You know what? I don't remember, but I collect those 2 pieces of equipment because it allows us to take 2 hits from the final boss between healing. So that doubles the effectiveness of all the healing items that we have. These rooms, unlike the worm tunnels, are completely dark and cannot be illuminated. And further, you can't use return. So if you get lost, you can't just use return and go back to the start of the room. You have to figure it out. And it sucks. But again, like I mentioned before, I'm using jumps to navigate. So I'm going to do 6 jumps north in this room. I'll talk you through this one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 jump right, 2 north, 1 up left, 2, 4, I think it was 4 left and then a down left, 3 down, 2 left, 1 up left, half left. It's hard to talk through it when I'm not doing it. 1 right, 3 up, 1 right, up right, up right. At some point I was supposed to jump up there, I think, and I was facing right the entire time. It must have been an upright that I don't remember. Anyways, I have this written down at some point, and if anybody wants to run this game, you can just check the notes whenever they're posted. The dark rooms are super fun and extremely consistent because those enemies aren't random. They're always going to seek you in the same way. So as long as your movement is clean, the enemies are always going to be out of your way. And we're gonna do another death abuse here. Just generally speaking, if you're gonna warp back to the last save that you took, it's going to be faster to death abuse if you can die in 1 or 2 hits. I think like if money wasn't an object, it's faster to warp gate, but it costs about 4 seconds to purchase a warp gate. So in total, it's faster to just die. And the advantage of dying as well is that you get all of your health back for more damage boosts. These rooms are really fun. This one is super flexible. The movement really doesn't matter too much. These floating ball things are gravity orbs. So they'll float around for a bit, and then when they're on screen for long enough, they will activate and they suck you towards them. And that's a really big problem because the suction is really powerful, and it's so strong that you can't usually jump across a pit if it's pulling you the exact opposite direction. So in some screens like this one, my movement is actually purposefully suboptimal, Like, I go farther north here than I normally would because it forces the other gravity orb off screen, so he doesn't use the suction. So there are faster ways to get through those rooms, but if your movement isn't completely perfect, and I mean completely perfect, those enemies will activate the suction at the wrong point, and they'll pull you into a pit, and then you have to redo the screen. So I opted for a more consistent clear. I think this is the screen with the knights. Yes. So there is one damage boost here, just because trying to manage them otherwise is going to be rough. And I'm cutting these diagonal jumps really close to try and force these knights to whiff an attack on me, because that'll force them to lag behind instead of chasing really close. That gets them off screen earlier, which means that there's less lag. So it took a while to find good pathing for a lot of these screens, just because they do dump so many enemies on you. But for the most part, I think I did a really good job. There's one room in particular where I just abandoned all hope of mitigating lag and just dealt with it. But for the rest of it, it's really clean manipulation. This screen is super nice. So you can use the double block push to... I don't know if I actually got one in this run or not. This is, again, a really suboptimal path on the right, just to avoid the suction. But this is like a half-optimal solution. What you can do instead is just charge up the middle and get to this point. Yeah, perfect. And you do the double block push. So on the frame that the block gets pushed, you jump. You take the shortest possible jump that you can take, and when you land, you press backwards. And that'll force the second movement of the rock to go on top of the tile that you're occupying, and you can walk through it and push it from the other side. So if you're confident in your frame-perfect pushes, you can go straight up the middle and do the double block push, the reverse double block push, whatever you want to call it, on both of those boulders, and entirely skip the actual puzzle. But I opt to just do it on the one, because if I fail it and get a push to the left, I can still clear the room. But if you failed on both of them, you have to reset. This screen is another one that isn't required, but for this route I take it. This is where we get the royal armor. So, again, this is collected so that we can survive 2 hits on the final boss and stretch our healing items out. Instead of, 4 mushrooms healing you 4 times, or healing you for 4 hits, 4 mushrooms now recovers 8 hits. And the final boss, as you'll see, is sometimes not dodgeable. So, yeah, this route just packs in as much safety as possible. It collects enough defensive gear to survive 2 hits from the ghost, and to survive 2 hits from the final boss. Whereas, I believe the final form of this route... Yeah, this is the room where I just don't even bother. Just deal with the lag for those 4 jumps. The final version of this route, I think, is just gonna heal after every single hit on both bosses, and would buy cheese, which heals for 6, instead of mushrooms, which heals for 10. Cheese only costs 1,000 gold instead of 2,000, so we're able to buy twice as much, but we're also missing resources because we skipped the crystal piece. So I still have a lot of testing to do with that route, and I need to get much more comfortable with the final boss before I actually do it, but I think that's going to be the way that this route develops. Okay, once we get to Platinum 4, we meet up with Barnes, and he gives us the phaser magic. The phaser magic is pretty similar to the ice magic. It makes a bridge across the void here, instead of making ice bridges across lava. Really cool magic. I'm a big fan. We don't need... So there is no checkpoint in Platinum 2, which is very strange. It's just Platinums 1, 3, and 4. And we don't need the checkpoint in Platinum 3. The only room we didn't enter in Platinum 3 gives us the Platinum Sword, which is trash. So, yeah, we have no reason for that. No reason to use that checkpoint. We have another dark room here. This one we just keep jumping north until we're past the second guard. Then we do like 4 jumps diagonally up left, and then I think 5 jumps north, 3 jumps this way, one down, one left, jump down and pray that a door shows up. That gives us the destruction key, which is also used in this dark room. 1, 2, 3, no, oh, just 2 jumps, and then like 9 and some change down, and then 1 right, and then down, and again we hope that door shows up. From this room, we get the fountain key, and then we are going to warp gate to Platinum 4. So there's another detour that you can take here in Platinum 4 if you wanted some more safety. In this big wide open room that I'm about to enter right here, if you go left and like up around the map, you just keep heading left across the void, and then eventually you head down a bit. There's a room there that has another source of power, and if you get... oh man, let me think. It can be a 1, 2, or 3. If it's a 3, then you save 2 hits on the final boss per phase, and if it's a 1 or a 2, you save 1 hit per phase. But it's a bit of a detour. It's a 26 second detour. But all things considered, 26 seconds is not too bad. It again just kind of comes down to your comfort level on the final boss. I think the final boss is 6 phases, so if you get a good roll, if you get a 3, you're saving 12 hits on the final boss. 26 seconds, if you're saving about 2 seconds per hit, you're gonna come out ahead. But anyways, I opted not to get it, but you can if you want. In this screen was really fun to optimize. Magic will start charging the moment that it's off screen. So in some cases I'm gonna not advance with it, just so I can let it charge quicker. This heart over here is only like an 8 second detour. Perfectly spaced magic to kill one of these smiley bats. And again, these are short casts to let the magic charge quicker. Yeah, the heart there is a really quick detour. I'm probably going to collect that even in the advanced route. But in this route it gets us to 9 health, which is what we need to survive 2 hits from the final boss, and it's a heal, which I'll use right before the boss as well. This room sucks. In addition to being dark, there are gravity orbs that are going to pull you, and there are conveyor belts, or moving sand or something. I'm not sure what the tile actually is, but the tile will move. So I'm using ice magic here to scout out the last corner that I have to walk around, and that's going to get us to the door. The rest of it, again, is just counting jumps and killing an enemy, both because he's annoying and because it gives me a frame of reference when he drops the experience orb on the ground. This screen gives us, I think, Entropy Key and a drink. Drink increases your move speed temporarily, but it's really handy for the final boss. And there's technically a manipulation that you can do with it, but I haven't practiced enough to make it worthwhile. So drink isn't specifically necessary, but it helps a lot. I think I got the double push solution here. So again, I want to cancel this push on the same frame that it happens and then face up, so that that ball moves up here. The orange steel balls move when they see you. So by getting the double push, it actually it saves like three movements in that screen because the orange ball doesn't see me. It's really nice. That solution is it's just beautiful when it actually works. And that's the last intentional damage boost of the run, so I should be using the heart here. Yes. This is another really neat puzzle. I'm a very big fan of this one. You have to push both of these brown balls up. You have to time the push into the blue one as it's bouncing around to get it to stop there. It's really neat. This game has great puzzles. I'm a big fan. Okay, the Entropy Key and Afterworld Key are the last 2 keys that we need. So now it's time to go to the final boss. He's in that same hallway with all the statues in Platinum 4, so away we go. I'm saving here because I wanted to make sure that this run finished. And the final boss makes holes in the floor if you don't prevent it. And if you fall in a hole, the fight ends and you're sent back there. Kind of like the Ganon fight in Link to the Past. And obviously all of the resources that you spent are still consumed. And I had one practice fight where I used like a bunch of my healing items and a reviving mirror, and then fell in a hole, and then I didn't have enough for the rematch. So the save is just to prevent the worst case scenario. I'm unequipping my shield here because, like I mentioned before, if your shield is equipped and you try and jump over one of his attacks, the game forces you to the ground and attempts to block it, and you take damage. So the shield is of no benefit here, and we also equip a reviving mirror, just in case. But let's see, do I have? I should have the damage values here. Final boss. Yep, final boss has 160 power, and we will have exactly 40 guard, with 1 +3 on the drop of protect, the dragon boost, and the best armor. So he does exactly 4 damage to us. There is no possible situation where he will do 4 + 5 in 2 hits. So we are guaranteed to survive 2 hits from anything. Every attack from every form does exactly 4 damage to us. So this is the attack that we wanted to make sure we could dodge. When you hit the Centipede, he teleports away and fires those balls. So this boss is super lame. I hate him. He takes 1,000 years and is really awful. So the Centipede has no attack. The Centipede, all it does is counterattack if you hit it, and it uses this vacuum periodically if you don't hit it. The main form, if you're directly below it, will charge at you. Otherwise, he won't do anything, except throw out one of those... Oh, what a sick jump! I forgot about that. I was fortunately able to use the suction from the Centipede to avoid everything there. That was really cute. I wish that was planned. The bat just like flies around and is really awful to try and dodge and causes a bunch of lag. These orange balls, they do damage, but you can break them, and if they hit the floor, they create a crack tile. And then if you step on a crack tile, it breaks, and if you fall in the hole, then you get sent back to the Platinum Forest save room. So that's another reason the Chuckler is really handy. I opted to take a damage boost there, even though I could have dodged, just because it was going to let me break the yellow orb, or the orange orb. Yeah, the Chuckler is handy because you can have 2 on screen, so I can dedicate 1 boomerang to damage and keep another one handy, just in case I need to play defense there. And the plan for this fight is normally to just let the Centipede do whatever it wants and focus on bursting down the main form and getting hits on the bat whenever I can. But the Centipede was grouping up in really convenient ways for me to kind of sneak hits on him here and there. So I used the drink. If you hit the Centipede off screen, like when he's not on camera, he won't actually do the counterattack and teleport away. So you can abuse that. And the only way to do that without the cape, which is a movement speed boosting item that you get in Dungeon 2, the only way to do that without the cape is to use the drink. I had a reviving mirror equipped still, so if I got hit again I would have revived, but the revive from reviving mirror is really slow, so I opted to use a mushroom instead. And that's time on the frame that this Centipede got his last hit. So that, even though it probably didn't look like it, was a really good final boss fight. That fight sucks. but the better I get, the more fun it is. So I'm hoping that if I just keep running this game, I'll enjoy it more and improve more. So this, I only did 1 day of attempts. I'm obviously not done running this game, but or maybe I did, no, I think I did 2 days of attempts. But this is the first no unintentional death run that I had. And everything was pretty much exactly according to route, except for the half-failed RNG manipulation in Droog. So I'm really happy with this run, and I think moving forward I'm gonna just dedicate a bunch of time to focusing on the advanced route, and then doing runs of that. So I wanted to get the video out of this route, because I think this is... I think the play level in this is pretty approachable, pretty reasonable. I'm not doing anything like super unreasonable in this run. I still make plenty of mistakes. I had to reset a bunch of rooms. I took a bunch of extra hits that I didn't mean to, and everything worked out in the end. I still had extra resources. And again, you can take that extra shopping trip in Toronto after Ice Castle is completed to buy more mushrooms if you want to. So, I'm pretty content with this route from an execution perspective and just from a route perspective. I think it's a really good starting point, and hopefully, if some years from now someone is interested in running this, they can use this as a starting point. But like I said, I'm nowhere near done with this game. I want to do for this what I did with RoboTrek, and get a whole bunch of resources uploaded to my website. Certainly all of the enemy stats, magic stats, probably just those. Equipment stuff is elsewhere on the internet. There are pretty good resources for that. But as far as like damage that enemies take and damage that enemies are going to deal, I want to get all of that uploaded. I want to get a calculator up there too. And some more resources about like how damage works, because I didn't even touch on stuff like the lingering remainder. That it gets pretty tricky in this. And eventually I'll upload all of my notes too. And my emulator movie files for segments of the run, in case like someone's really curious about what one segment is supposed to look like, what Castle 1 is supposed to look like, or what Platinum 1 is supposed to look like, or the Dark Rooms. If they want to watch it through with the input file, you can see what I'm doing there. And I have a spreadsheet here of every item that I collect and where I use every item, what my gold total is, things in each segment that are optional, and how much time it takes to collect all of them. So eventually all of that will be uploaded to my website, and it should be pretty reasonable for new runners to follow along. But right now those aren't available. So hopefully you guys can stay patient with me while I work through that, and someday it'll be useful. Until then, I hope that you guys enjoyed this run. This game's super cool, and speedrunning this is really tense, but I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a really cool run. It's a lot of fun to do, and I think it's pretty neat to watch. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be working on this quite a lot more moving forward. So for those of you who only follow my YouTube channel, in some number of months there will be another video uploaded there. For anybody else who watches my stream, you'll be seeing more Brainlord in the near future. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.